Romans 9. I think that's the part about. Oh, yeah. Thou wilt say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against God? Till the thing formed, say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? Hath not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory? Even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. Anyway, yeah, so what's this all about, right? So it sounds like what he's saying is, look, God could just choose whoever he's going to throw into hell, and that's his decision, and it has nothing to do with because he could just, he could just choose some are the vessels of wrath and other people are the vessels of destruction. It's just he just chose them, and he's using the vessels of wrath to show the vessels of his glory, etc., right? But it's really not what he's talking about. What he's actually talking about, if you have to look at the context, right? Like, first of all, okay, starting off the chapter. So in chapter 8, he finished off telling them what happens with a saved believer who is following God and walking after the Spirit. Okay, when you walk after the Spirit, then you can never be separated from the love of God. Now, then when he says this now, I say the truth in Christ, a lie. For I could wish that I myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren according to the flesh. The brethren, according to the flesh, is the Jews, because he's worried about them. This is the discussion topic has switched now. Now he's talking about the Jews, okay? Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants, and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises. So it's like the Jews had all these things: the adoption, the glory, covenants, etc., the law, the promises. They are the fathers, and Christ came, considering the flesh, Christ came for them. And Christ is overall God bless forever. So if Christ came for them, at least considering the flesh, how can they now, what's going on? How he's about to explain, but anyway, as he said, not as though the word of God had taken that effect, but they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. Because here he's trying to say to them, like, look, it's like these people are the adoption, the glory, the covenant, all that stuff pertains to them. Yet he could wish himself a curse from Christ for his brethren. Like he would rather be a curse from Christ, and that's not to go to hell, but that's just like in this life type of thing or whatever. Like to be, like he would rather be that. He would rather lose that blessing if he could save these people. That doesn't work like that. But he's just saying that he wish it could be that way. And then, so that's why he's saying, when he says this, not as though the word of God had taken that effect, because he's explaining to them, why is it these people who God promised everything to, why is it that they're in huge trouble now and they're on their way to hell if they don't believe, right? So it's like, why? And also, I think most of these, actually, honestly, I think most of it is talking about 70 AD. Like he's talking about how this letter, right? You have to understand, this letter was written in the time before the temple was destroyed, right? So he's still thinking about those people still go up there and sacrifice. Like it's so insulting to Christ and everything, So that's what a lot of this is. Like he's like worried about that because he knows. I don't know what he knows about 70 AD, but he knows that there's a judgment coming for them. He knows about what Jesus said in Matthew 24. He knows all that stuff, right? So he's worried about them. He wants them to be saved mostly from that. I don't think he's even talking about like salvation from hell here that much. Some of it comes up a little bit, but most of it's about the fact that they're going to get utterly destroyed, like their temple and their city and all that stuff. So he's explaining to them. So why are these people, the chosen people, why are they going to get destroyed now, right? For they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. So just because you're born of Abraham's flesh, that doesn't mean you're a child of God. It's only if you're a child of the promise. And then he compares it to Abraham and Sarah, then Rebecca and Isaac, and then Jacob. Jacob was, the elder shall serve the younger. So this is another example of that, right? Like Jacob's the elder, he was going to serve the younger. It's before they were ever born. So Calvinists and people like that will say, "Oh, look, he could just choose you and make you suffer some fate, even though you didn't do anything. You're just a baby. You didn't do one thing, right?" But it's not about like they're going to heaven and hell or anything like that. Even their fate within their own lives, it doesn't really affect that. It's not talking about that. It's talking about the fact that Jacob is going to be the one who is the ancestor of Jesus, while Esau is not going to have that blessing. That's all that is, And then, but it's like, okay, but he got it before he was born. He was chosen. But we see, and even in their lives, we see that Jacob was like, he was the type that was more kind of willing to obey God's lead. Like he's gonna marry the woman that his parents wanted to and stuff. Like unlike Esau, who was just marrying those Ishmaelite women and stuff. So there's that, right? So all those things combine to make it so that like that Jacob was actually, we can see that God had a reason why he chose Jacob, but it has nothing to do with going to heaven and hell. Jacob and Esau are both going to be in heaven, okay? And Esau was blessed even in this life. He's more blessed in this life anyway than Jacob. He had multiple wives and he was super rich. He had like a private army and stuff, So it's not like like God didn't make him serve Esau in any way, except for the fact that Jacob is going to be the ancestor of Jesus. That's the only thing, which is a really huge thing. But it's just that it's got nothing to do with it's got nothing to do with blessings and cursings in this life. And it's got nothing to do with going to heaven and hell. Absolutely nothing. He's not discussing that at all, Now, when he comes down to this part about the Jews and stuff, or when he goes, okay, so now he talks about Pharaoh. Pharaoh was raised up for this purpose, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. Again, nothing to do with heaven and hell, nothing whatsoever, okay? He's saying that he raised up Pharaoh in this life, so that Pharaoh can be this kind of example to the world of what you don't say to God, how the attitude you do not express toward God. Because God knew that was how he was going to be in life. So he raised that type of person to that level, because those are the people that he needs to raise to that level. I'll show you that too. Daniel 4:17. This is what he does, man. This is what he does. So this is matters by the decree of the watchers. The Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. The basest of men is the most wicked, evil men. Okay, he raises those up to be kings. Why? Because that's the ones he can then use them for his glory. Not always, but a lot of the time, that's what he's doing. He raised up this horrible person, right, Pharaoh. And I honestly think Pharaoh's saved too. We can talk about that. That's another discussion. But this whole thing is nothing to do with salvation whatsoever. He's talking about the fact that he raised up Pharaoh, because Pharaoh's this wicked person that's going to rebel against him, and then he used that rebellious nature of Pharaoh for his glory. That's what God does. That's what he's talking about, and that's the example of what he did with the Jews And once again, it has absolutely nothing to do with salvation or going to heaven or anything like that. It's just about how he raised up the Jews as like the chosen people, right? In order to so everyone can see how they can't do it, how they failed. They crucified the Lord of glory, all that stuff. That's all. That's the point of that, you know. That's all he's saying here. And when he talks about how like then when he goes on here, because then the people say, okay, wait, let's actually go through this. Okay, so he raised up Pharaoh for the purpose for his glory, because he has mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will he hardeneth. Now this is not hardening your hearts again. Oh, sorry, not again, but I think some people will often use this to say that oh look, he hardened Pharaoh's heart and he mind controlled him and all this stuff. That's got nothing to do with this. He's just saying some people he has mercy on, not Pharaoh, but the Hebrews, and other people he hardeneth. It's the opposite of having mercy. That's all that is. Nothing to do with hardening the heart. That's a different thing. That's in Pharaoh's story. I get it, but that's not what he's talking about here. And so that's what that is. Okay. So some people he has mercy, some people he hardeneth. That's like Pharaoh, not in the sense of hardening his heart, just that he didn't have mercy on him. You know. Now, like I say, I think Pharaoh's saved, but he's talking about in this life, right? And then, so then when he says, I will say that unto me, why did he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? This is like an imaginary Jew talking to Paul and saying that question, right? And then he says this, nay, but O man, who art thou that replies against God? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? But he's talking about, again, this life, the stuff in this life. Like the Jews are probably like, what, God, we did everything you know how people are like, they think they actually did the stuff they're supposed to do, like the rich man, like the rich young ruler and stuff. He's like, I followed all the laws from my youth up, you know. This is how they're being, right? But it's just like, no, you didn't. That's why he's, who are you to reply against God? You think you know? You think you know that you did everything you're supposed to do, and he should do something that you want him to do? No, he does whatever he wants. And the thing doesn't say to the thing that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? But the important thing to remember is just that none of this has anything to do with going to heaven and hell. There's some discussion of it, because there's this idea of the Jews, how they, they tried to, like, their own righteousness and all this stuff. Anyway, let's keep going. I thought the potter power over the clay, right? So the person that's made cannot talk to the maker and tell him what to do. What's going on here? I'm looking at the comments here, but it's a lot of comments, so I don't know if I can keep up with all this. I'll get back to you guys in the comments. But yeah, what if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long, just like with Pharaoh, right? To make his power known, he endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction. Pharaoh, he put up with Pharaoh's wickedness. He put up with them. Let him oppress the Hebrews or all this stuff, because he has a plan, right? And the Hebrews, yeah, they're going through some hard time. He knows he's going to take care of them, you know. That's why he doesn't worry about all that, right? And then he's like, so he endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction. That's Pharaoh, and that's like the Jews, that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory. That's us. Even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. And this is, again, I don't think this is like salvation necessarily, but it's like people that join the church, you know? This is like people who heed the call, you know? They don't just get saved, they actually join the church. As he saith also in OC, I will call them my people, which are not my people, and her beloved, which is not beloved. That's the Gentiles, right? They were not my people, then he beloved them. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, There shall they be called the children of the living God. That's us. Isaiah also cries concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. So there's going to be this remnant saved who actually turn to him. For he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness, because a short work will the Lord make upon the earth. And as Isaiah said before, this is the short work is, I think, 70 AD. As Isaiah said before, except the Lord of Sabaoth, this is like the Lord of armies, had left us a seed, we had been as Sodom and had been like unto Gomorrah. What shall we say then? The Gentiles, which followed not after righteousness, have attained to righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith. But Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, hath not attained to the law of righteousness. Wherefore? Because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law. Where they stumbled at that stumbling stone. So this is like talking about the nation of Israel, not the individual people, right? For salvation to go to heaven. This is like the nation of Israel followed after the law of righteousness, but has not attained, because they're still going by the works of the law. And again, remember that the temple is still standing at this time. All right, they're still going up there and making sacrifices and all that stuff, which is a complete insult to Jesus. And so that's partly why Paul's so worried and freaked out here, is because like he's like he understood these are his brethren, right? His families or people he used to know, his friends and stuff, right? They go to that temple every like few months, right? And they go and they do all those wicked things. And he knows what's in for them. They're gonna be in trouble, you know?
Okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike and Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you wanna support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shills. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike and Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.